Hi, I'm Jessica Stutzman from Millcreek Township.
And I'm Chantel Rodriguez. Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Today we're joined by a special guest, Emily Biddle, Director of Marketing and Research at VisitErie. We'll be diving into the new VisitErie brand, what it means for tourism, how it's changing the way people see our region, and how it came together through research, community input, and creativity.
So Emily, thank you so much for having us down here today. We're excited to be on location with VisitErie. There is so much going on, and we really just want to dive right in. So let's start at the heart of the matter. What inspired this rebrand, and why was now the right time for it?
It's been a while since VisitErie has had any major change. We've never had a research-backed brand, and we've been working with the same logo and the same sort of aesthetic for 10 to 15 years now. And in that time, we've been successful in generating tourism here, but travel is changing and travelers are changing. So we felt that because of that, it was time to really start investigating this. We worked with our agency and started the research and started this process about 18 months ago. And I think came up with a brand that really speaks to today's traveler. And is, sets us up for the next 10 years.
Yes, it really does. It's so beautiful. We were just talking about how much we love Good Life, Great Lake. It is so true. Lifelong, Erie, Millcreek Township residents, and I think this is exciting for our whole community, our whole region.
Yeah, and I think even with the new tagline, like what does the new tagline "Good Life, Great Lake" mean to you, and what does it mean for the visitors also with your research that you did?
I think it really speaks to the core of like who we are. When you really think about spending time in Erie as either a resident or as a visitor, we kind of have it all. And we kind of are echoing through this brand that the good life can be whatever you want it to be. What I think of as the good life might be different from somebody else. But when you think about what that means to you, we have it here. You can do all the things. It's slower pace if you want it. It's faster pace if you want it. It's, time on the water if that's what you're into, or it's time in a more city feeling environment if that's what you're into. And I think, of course, highlighting the fact that we're on a Great Lake is, needs to be highlighted. I really think that when we live here, we sort of take for granted the fact that we're on a Great Lake. People travel from all over the world to see the Great Lakes. So having that in the tagline specifically, for me and from the research that we did, was important so that we could make sure we're sort of putting ourselves on the map there. We're not just this sort of regional destination, although that's certainly who our bread and butter tourists are. But let's start thinking a little bit bigger. We're on the Great Lakes. I think we could draw from a wider scope because of that.
Yeah, and I think even mentioning the hustle and bustle of a big city or even the small city mind, you can pick and choose which great life you want to live.
Exactly. And something we keep hearing is especially the core audiences that we draw from, they are from bigger cities. They're used to, maybe not being able to do quite so much because they've got traffic. It's going to take forever to get from one side of town to the other, and here we don't have that.
It takes about 15 minutes.
Yes, yeah, you can do all the things and sort of create that itinerary and trip that you want, and what's more good life than that?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's the perfect tagline for the perfect city.
Yeah, I do. I think we have everything here. Every core memory I have growing up somehow revolves around the water. But then, we've got other amazing things going on. We have, the wineries to, horse farms to, the zoos to shopping, quaint little yoga studios and coffee shops, breweries, and there's just so much. So what I really am excited to hear about, can you walk us through, it wasn't just a new logo, can you walk us through the whole 18-month process behind building this brand? Because I really think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really was a process. Describing it as that is really important. We worked with our marketing agency of record, Red House Communications, on this, and started about 18 months ago. And it started with really speaking to locals, speaking to stakeholders, and that was sort of where we kicked everything off, was wanting to hear from the people that have a stake in tourism, their thoughts on the industry, their thoughts on its potential, what it has done, what we have here. And that's sort of where we started to hear the whole, we kind of have it all here. We have it good here. We started to hear that. After that, we really got into the core research, where we started, we worked with an outside firm that surveyed past and potential visitors, and we really aligned that with the people who are already coming here. So for example, the majority of our travelers are from Pittsburgh. We made sure that same percentage of respondents in the survey was from Pittsburgh, and then so on and so forth, Cleveland, Buffalo, everywhere else. And use that research to really measure, not only what people want in a destination, but what motivates them to travel to a destination. And that, again, gave us insight into the mindset of today's traveler. So all that research, we combined all of it. The agency used that to inform kind of what our brand positioning statement was. We, had an internal group that worked on reviewing those statements, making sure that they felt true, making sure that they were a reflection of the research that was done. And then from there, the team set out and concepted, a whole bunch of concepts. We sort of narrowed this down from a whole bunch to 4 to then 2 that were tested in the market, which I think it was a really, really crucial part of the puzzle. This was not something that we just said, I like that one. Yeah. It was taken from pieces of 2 concepts that were tested with travelers, where we asked them what resonates, which pieces resonate, and it was a whole other process. We built it out, and now here we are. We get to put it out into market, out into the world, and we know that it has resonated with travelers because of the research that we did. And so now it's just time to see that come to fruition.
So there was a lot of community input and visitor research that did shape the direction of the decision to, do this new rebrand. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing just to know that you researched, you went out and got community input, mm-hmm. and I feel like they definitely probably felt a part of the process as well.
I think so, and again, it's like we can't showcase something to the visitors that isn't true, right? Yeah. If we put it out to the visitors and then they come here and they're like, well, this doesn't match up, then we haven't done our jobs. Mm-hmm. So it needed to start with that local input so we could make sure whatever the end product was really felt true and was a good representation of Erie, and I really think we got there.
Yeah, and I think even when you unveiled the logo and the branding and identity of it, I was so excited because I'm like, this is just perfect. Like, why didn't I think of this before? Like, this just fits into what I feel, being here in Erie, growing up in Erie, this is what was missing. So I feel like this was the final puzzle piece, and we're just moving forward now.
Yeah, it encapsulates, the true, visiting Erie mm-hmm. spirit. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I think there is so much untapped potential. When I travel, to my friends in other cities, Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, they're always surprised about what we have. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's like a secret little gem up here. Yeah. And what I do want to ask, was there anything that surprised you by the survey comments, or something that like really resonated and spoke with you? Just anything that like stands out from the survey?
I think one of the things from the first round of research, where we were really trying to understand habits and things, there was a significant percentage of the group that we researched that had already been here. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, like, we know that there are travelers here, but to actually hear people say that they have been here and read their comments about what they like to do and what they have done in the past, that sort of resonated with me, that these are people who already have, an interest in here. They already know what we have to offer, and they want to come back, and this is what will hopefully bring them here.
Yeah. And you said there is an evolution in tourism happening right now. What is that evolution?
I think it's just, the age groups that are sort of coming of age and having more of that disposable income are changing. I'm a millennial. You guys are probably both millennials also.
We are.
I think when like that this age group, the millennials and Gen Z age groups are now, they have disposable income. They like to travel. I think that any of the research that I read states that those two age groups in particular will sacrifice other areas and keep money for travel because it's so important to them. And 10 years ago when we had our old logo and branding that came together, that wasn't the case. We were fresh out of college or whatever, or for Gen Z in college. And so we needed to make sure that what we were doing now, we don't want to forget our existing travelers. It still needed to have something for them as well, but it really had to speak to the future of travel. And I think that's what we did, and that was really important to us throughout this process.
Yeah, right. And traveling probably with families, traveling, I know there's a lot of times we look for things to do to bring our dog with us.
Yes.
And, I'm sure that kind of probably resonated through some of those comments as well. But you mentioned that this is Erie's brand. It's kind of the vision that we're moving forward with as a whole community, not just Visit Erie. So how is the community and any partnerships you have, how is everybody embracing this?
Yeah, that's really our goal, is that, obviously this is Visit Erie's brand. We own this. It's ours to sort of take and do with what we want. And part of what we want is to kind of empower the region to make it work for them. We needed to have a brand that was that led with tourism, but one of the things that was important to us from the beginning was really, hey, if this can, we need this to work for tourism, but if it can also work for economic development or recruiting of students and physicians and all the other businesses in town that need to bring people here, then we've really, really hit the nail on the head. And so we're doing that by, when we kicked this thing off, we had a big launch event on May 21st where we unveiled the brand, and we invited all those people. It was not just our Visit Erie partners and the tourism-based businesses, but we invited some of the larger employers. We invited all the universities. We wanted everybody to sort of see it and feel it for themselves. And from there, we're working on other things, presentations, setting up meetings with people, to really start to have those conversations on how they might incorporate it into their own initiatives and objectives. And it seems initially like it has been really well received. We're getting requests for merch specifically a lot, and
swag items.
Yes, people need the swag, and they will get the swag. So stay tuned.
Yes, and I know we've put in our request, for the Visit Erie magazine. I know one of our main goals, I think, for the year is to start like a new resident packet. If you're new to Millcreek Township, our goal is to put together the calendar, the magazine, your magazine, share why this is such a special place to live, and we're happy that you're here.
Yeah, I love that. And it is, there's such like how many times do you travel somewhere and you go, oh, I could move here? I mean, that's part of it. Relocation and travel are so intertwined. And that's part of why we wanted to make sure that this could speak to other industries, because it all really goes hand in hand.
Yeah, you're bringing in the emotional feel. Like when someone steps into Erie, they're like, wow, I think I could live here. Like starting that thought process for them.
Right.
And I know with brands, we have brand pillars. But what are the 5 brand pillars for this Visit Erie new branding, and how do they reflect Erie's unique character as a 4-season destination?
So we start with the great outdoors. I think that's something that, not only we heard from our stakeholders that we have the lake, we have trails, we have all these things. Outdoors are the sort of the core of who we are. But it's also, as we look at what travelers are already doing when they're here, and in travelers, what they're traveling for, the great outdoors is always the top of the list. People want to be on the lake, they want to hit the trails, they want to ski, they want to be outside. So that's number 1. Being a foodie favorite is number 2. same thing. We know we have great restaurants all over the county. And again, that's a thing that people travel for. That's sort of the first thing you think of is like, where are we gonna eat? A family favorite destination is another of our pillars. We've long been known as having great family attractions. You've got Waldemere and Splash and the Scallywags and the zoo and all these things, Seawolves games that are just perfect for especially families of young children. So that's really going to be core of who we are. Makers and culture. If you think about all the incredible artists and artisans that are here, the outstanding festivals. I mean, every weekend, I just filled out my calendar for the summer. Every weekend there's something. They're all free. They're all representative of our whole, county and culture. So that's core of what we're doing. And then the last is heritage woven in. We have such a unique, there are historical moments that happened here, but beyond that, I think Erie sort of has its own heritage in terms of businesses that have been here for a very long time that sort of define us. And so those are the 5 pillars that we're really going to sort of anchor our messaging on.
I think that's a beautiful thing because not a lot of brands can do that. So the fact that you took the time, the research, the in-depth, the informative sessions, getting in that, community input really helped shape all of this. So I think a lot of people are really going to be excited to see exactly what's going to come from this.
Yeah. And I think all of what you just said resonates with me in that, like, I identify with every single one. And I think, as a culture, I like to think like Erie's a tough crew. We're really, like, we make it through the harsh winters, and then, you come to this beautiful, thriving summer community. And I think, that's the thing that I think stands out in all of our personalities are, we enjoy having fun, but we're tough too, So I think that really stands out in the 5 pillars that you brought up, and the cultural thread. Everybody is, gosh, so supportive of, like you said, all the cultural festivals. I mean, they just keep getting bigger and bigger and better. So,
and they all really focus on local. I mean, you go to a lot of those festivals now, and it's across the season. You see so many people locally that are making products and creating. And that's what we want to showcase. I mean, even if you get into winter, I know Downtown Partnership has some great stuff downtown where, we love all the businesses up on Peach Street as well, but having, events that really highlight those local makers and local businesses, that's what travelers want to see, that unique type stuff.
Yeah, this was the right time for this. So much has changed. I can just think of in the last 20 years. I remember, going off to college and doing that in Pittsburgh and then coming back. And I remember thinking, like, a lot changed in 4 years. Yeah. And then just raising, my own family here, just thinking, like, I don't need to leave. We have it all here. So, yeah, I think this is perfect. And what I want to talk on, Millcreek Township recently just went through our own rebranding. We've got our own new seal and logo. So your new visuals are stunning. So I want to talk about the nautical inspired logo, the color palette, the creative direction, and everything that it all stands for. Because I know for us, again, the colors in the blue, in the sand, and the stars, everything represents something. So go ahead and tell us what it means to you guys.
Yeah, similarly, that it all has a meaning. So I think the colors within our primary logo here, the blue and the green were really meant to represent those outdoor recreation, the lake colors. Lake green and lake blue is what they're called in our style guide. We have a darker blue as well. That one is the most interesting. So we had, if you recall, an eclipse last year. Our account rep from Red House actually came up during the eclipse because we were starting to plan this, and had an instrument with him that he brought so that we could measure the exact color that the sky was during the eclipse.
Wow.
And so our eclipse blue, the darker blue, it's called an eclipse blue, that is the color that the sky was, which I think is kind of fascinating.
Such a fun fact.
Yeah, I know. And then we have a lot of complementary colors that are all, again, representative of sand, ice. There's one that's called dirt. It's like a reddish color. So it all takes into account the way that the colors of our region all season long. And then as far as like the aesthetic, our photography, our videography, our visuals are all meant to sort of look like your favorite family photos. They're not going to be staged. They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be bright and bold. It's going to look like film almost. It's going to look like home, kind of. So the way that our agency described it, and I keep saying I love, they call it having charming imperfections. If you think of your favorite family photos and you're living in the moment and you just snap a quick picture, it's not going to be absolutely perfect. And I think that's, again, that's who we are, kind of. And I think that's a good thing. You know, Erie is not perfect, no destination is. And I think that the new aesthetic does a really nice job of kind of embracing old and new, making vintage feel modern and nostalgic. And that's what we want to convey.
Yeah, and I think with the photos that you had at the unveiling, it was a local artist, and they were at Oliver's Beer Garden, and they were doing a performance, and I felt like I could place myself right in that photo. I was in the crowd, listening to the music, and it just felt like, I don't think I've ever felt like that with a photo in an unveiling, and I was just like, wow, I live here. Like, this is the life right here. So I think it was perfect.
And that's exactly what we want, is to make the viewer feel like it's their point of view. They can see themselves in either that still photo featuring a friend group or in that video with a family. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, you definitely provoke that emotion out of me.
That's awesome. It's working.
Yeah, and then with your summer campaign, would you be able to share a little bit about what you're planning on doing and the creative ways that you're trying to activate the new brand here in Erie?
So we launched our summer campaign. We did it twofold because of this new brand. So we always start advertising to our core markets for summer in April. We did a very small media buy in April, knowing that in May we were changing it all up. So starting literally at noon right after the brand launched, we launched our summer campaign, the bigger portion of it, into our core markets. Which for us this summer we expanded a little bit because this is brand new. We wanted to make sure that this got everywhere. So we are still advertising. The biggest chunk of it is in our primary summer markets of Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Harrisburg region, and then the Johnstown-Altoona region. But we're also doing some stuff in Buffalo, which typically we don't do until fall. We're going to introduce this in the summer there. Wheeling, West Virginia is new for us this year, but they come here, so we want to reach them. And then Youngstown, Ohio. And we're doing that with, new creative assets and everything, of course, to match the new brand, using some of the same tactics that we always have, paid social and billboards and streaming video and things like that. This year, we're starting to do some interesting things. We're doing a little bit more guerrilla marketing. We've got some plans down in Pittsburgh where there's a weekend with a couple of big events happening in close proximity to each other, where we're going to have some lifeguards fully branded VisitErie out there handing out some collateral and talking to people that are local to Pittsburgh. We're going to be working with a different company to do some chalk-based art in one of our primary markets. And just having a little bit more fun with out of home than we have done before. Again, because we want to really get this out where the people already are. We're having a little bit more fun with it.
I'm gonna love seeing this. Just the process and just seeing the whole guerrilla style marketing. I love that, boots on the ground, and just really being in the community and also reaching out to other areas. So I'm definitely going to love to see those lifeguards. See how that plays out.
Yes, and I'm so excited for the creativity of it all. I think that in and of itself has an artistry to it, and so I'm excited to see that all play out in real time. And I think being an Erie, Erie Millcreek resident, it makes me proud. It makes me proud to show the surrounding areas, what we have to offer. And yes, the winters are harsh and the skiing is wonderful, but this is why we stay here. This is, like you just said, how many times do you go somewhere and you're like, I could relocate here. And I think that's it. I think that's everything.
Yeah, and it's really, I think part of what we want to convey through all of that is that there's kind of more than meets the eye here. People might have a preconceived notion of what Erie is, but if you come here, I think you're going to find something that far exceeds your expectations. And we all know that, our stakeholders knew that in the research, and that's really what we want to convey. And it centers around the lake. The lake sort of like guides our life all year round. But then once you get here, like, go out and explore. Head down, Route 6 and check out some of the, unique shops there and the farm country. Get up to, get into Millcreek and start with Presque Isle, but then check out all the shopping and the restaurants there. I mean, there's so much more to it than the lake.
So let's talk about success. For you, what does success of this rebranding look like, and how do you measure it over the next year?
So we do keep tabs on actual visitation. We use a platform called Zartico. It uses anonymized cell phone geolocation data to see where our visitors coming from and their habits and how it's trending. So it's really going to start with that. I think nobody here is thinking that we're going to know next week if we did it or not. It's going to take some time. But we'll continue to monitor that, see how different markets maybe are increasing their travel or not, and see how we're spreading them around. So it's going to start with that, actual visitation. Has it changed and how? But also then, of course, throughout the course of the campaign, watching things like impressions on our paid stuff, watching engagement on our paid stuff, and seeing how that differs from the campaigns that we ran last year and the year before. So I think that'll be more the immediate, way for us to know, is this resonating? And then if we, look at it again, and perhaps a year from now, has it changed actual visitation?
Yeah, and looking ahead with all of this technology and looking at visitor, data and all of that, how do you envision this brand supporting Erie's growth over the next decade?
Well, I mean, we set it up for that, knowing that we were trying to speak to the travelers who were sort of coming of age in this space. We made it for those travelers specifically, and so I think if we can get people, in those age demographics to start coming here now, Erie does have a lot of repeat travelers. I think we've heard from many people that they come to Erie every summer, and this is just part of their, routine and part of their schedule. I think if we can create that with sort of a new batch of travelers and get this on people's radars for the next 10 years, then that's really what we're looking to do.
I'm definitely excited to see, I feel like I'm going to be a lifer in Erie, so I'm going to be here throughout the whole entire process, so it's going to be fun to see.
We'll be your faux brand ambassadors. We'll just we'll spread the word. So. But really, Millcreek Township is here to help, again, push this messaging, push the logo. We're going to, carry your magazines at our building, and so, like I said, we really, really love what you're doing, and we're excited for it. And so we're just excited to see the future and the future of tourism in Erie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important to our economy. There are so many businesses that if they weren't supported by tourists, could they support locals? It's such a driver of our economy that we're really excited and hope that this only sees further growth.
Yeah. Emily, our show is coming to a close here. Is there any one last thought you want to leave with our viewers today?
I'm excited that everybody seems to be excited. This has been it's been a really interesting process, and it's been sort of a hard secret to keep as this has come together. It's like, oh, we can't wait to just put it out into the world, and now that it is out into the world and it's being received so well, that's just it's really exciting and really affirming. And so I guess I would just encourage, residents of Millcreek and you all and anybody else that's around, use it, talk about it. Invite people that you know to come up to Erie and experience the good life, and especially if they haven't been here in a while. Yeah. Invite them up, experience the good life with you this summer or fall or winter, and let them be surprised and see some new stuff here in our region.
And all it takes is really a quick follow on social, visit Erie, or go on the website, and I mean, they can see for themselves right then and there in real time, so to say, what Erie has to offer. So it's really a fun experience.
Yeah. And now all of our viewers can be brand ambassadors too.
Yes, please.
Oh, Emily, thank you so much for taking the time out of your really busy day to chat with us and go through all of these amazing details.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. Brand ambassadors,
all the way.
Glad you're on board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
We want to thank Emily so much for joining us today and giving us a behind-the-scenes look at how Visit Erie's new brand came to life. It's exciting to see how Erie is being positioned as a year-round destination and how the brand is truly rooted in what makes this region feel like home. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Be sure to check out Visit Erie's new branding in action across the community and follow their latest campaigns.
Until next time, stay curious, stay involved, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Millcreek Government Channel.